Greetings and warm welcome to everyone. We are here today for an exciting exploration into the world of blending modes. This virtual event will dive into the art and science of blending modes, unraveling their secrets and discovering how they can transform your creativity. But before we begin, we invite you to join our Facebook groups, so please join Digital Creatives Worldwide in Facebook and join also Adobe Users Community in Facebook. We also have channels in YouTube. So please do subscribe Digital Creatives Worldwide and Adobe Community Philippines in YouTube. So I know our learners and viewers are already excited for what is going to happen this evening. So without further ado, I want to welcome our speaker. So he is a certified Adobe Creative Educator Level 1, an NC3 holder in visual graphics design, and a skilled, passionate professional in IT and visual graphics design. So let's welcome on stage Mr. Rusty Resentes.
Everyone, good evening, morning, good afternoon, good day in general.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening because we have friends from different parts of the world, Sir Rusty.
I see someone from Mexico, from Dubai.
Yes, a while ago in the comment, many are tuning in different places. By the way, we are live in Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Hi guys.
Yes. So how are you, Sir Rusty?
Yeah, I'm
Before we
currently
begin, let's
here.
do have some kamustahan.
Yeah, actually I'm here in Las Marinas and the same view that we are. I think we are about like 20 to 30 kilometers away, but the weather is the same. We experience scattered rain. I don't know what's the situation outside, but as far as I remember from the news, yeah, there's another typhoon coming. Let's see what will
Yes,
happen.
I heard that news also. So please pray for the Philippines. We have typhoon right now, but still, we are here doing live, giving inspiration to young ones and to other people with this digital creativity, of course. Yeah, so just curious, Sir Rusty. Since we are talking about digital creativity, and yeah, we are in digital creatives because Photoshop is one of digital creativity tool. So, what initially sparked your interest in digital arts? Was there any particular moments or artwork that inspired you to explore this area?
I don't have the specific incident or experience that inspired me to pursue designing, especially in using digital. But uh, it all started, no? The one that ignited my interest in designing is that when I experienced to attend a class in Adobe Photoshop, because actually in our curriculum in our school, when I was in junior high school, one of our quarter is focuses on Adobe Photoshop. I remember that time that was in 2013. I think the version of Photoshop that we've used that time is CS5. I don't know, CS5 or CS6, and yeah. Uh, I do have a knowledge in basic computer, yeah, and I have interest in using computer, but I don't have this specific interest in designing. Especially, I don't have that idea in traditional drawing. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. And yeah. So this teacher that I had, he inspires me a lot to pursue designing, specifically Photoshop, because actually that time, when I say designing, it's synonymous to Photoshop. Yeah, that's the only thing that I remember. So, as time passes by, I created this focus and goal that when in every stage of education that I have, I always make sure that I have this experience in using computer and digital design.
Mm. Yes. So meaning, sir, it's just because of your school before in junior high school,
Exactly.
right? It's like a requirement that you have to commit to that requirements, like that. sir? It seems that you just love it along the way.
Exactly. That's the right idea.
Yes. Yeah, by the way, just to share to you, we have the same school with Sir Rusty. Our high school is the same. So we are both from Sisters of Mary School. Yes, but we don't know each other in the school because we have different campus. We have a campus for boys and we have campus for girls. That's why we don't know each other, Sir Rusty. Just the earlier this days lang, we met Sir Rusty and we come to know that we have in the same school. Yes, that's the funny thing about that. And by the way, I want to share to you because I browse some of the artworks of Sir Rusty. This artwork, and this is actually our school. Sir Rusty, can you explain something about this one? I think this is your artwork.
Yeah,
Just an
actually,
overview.
yeah, that's the artwork itself, and that's one of one artwork from the group of work that I did, specifically in transforming a real image, a raster image, into a somehow a cartoon-like and anime-like image using Adobe Photoshop's capability. You know what? I don't have. If you're thinking that I drew that image, no, you're wrong. There's a real image, and then I transformed it using the different tools in Photoshop, specifically the
Yes,
blending modes. We're going to
yes,
talk
sir.
about.
I was really amazed by this one. That's why I want to share this one, and I hope soon you can teach us also. In like this event, you can teach us also how to make a photograph into an anime, like using Photoshop.
Actually, if there's enough time, actually, that artwork is the outcome of pandemic. If pandemic doesn't happen, I don't think that kind of artwork will happen to exist. You know.
Yeah, but at least it was from you. It's new. And another thing, this one. This is an example. This is, I think, this is a convenience store here in the Philippines. So
Yeah,
he made it anime also. So this at the lower part. So that is actually what's this? The photograph, and then the upper
original
part,
image.
that is the work of Sir Rusty. He made it as an anime. So I was just inspired, and I hope you can teach us that style soon. Okay, I think that's all the question that I have in mind right now. So I am now giving the floor to you, Sir Rusty, for you to discuss or share more about this understanding blending modes.
Okay. So yeah, welcome to this live stream. We're talking about the things about blending modes, or specifically, we're going to understand what are different blending modes in Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so if it happens that you join this live stream because of blending modes, yeah, we all know that some of the editing software nowadays adapted these blending modes from Photoshop. But I think this the capability of blending modes in Adobe Photoshop is the same with capability of blending modes in another software. So this discussion aims to provide a clear understanding of blending modes in Photoshop, which are features determining how layers interact by mathematically altering the appearance of pixels on the active layer based on the underlying layers. Enabling you guys to use blending modes for combining layers, adjusting colors, and enhancing the visual impact of images and design. So basically, what we're going to do now is to understand the first part. As you know, this live stream will be divided into two parts, and the latter specifically this blending modes, starting from, I think, from the middle of overlay. Yeah. But yeah, the lower part, blending modes, will be discussed on the second part, which will happen in August 5. So if you observe here, there's a word mathematically, because from the brochures and from the materials of Adobe, they use the term algorithm, as you know. So blending modes work in Photoshop through algorithms. It's the same like how AI works. Okay. So yeah. So blending modes. What's blending modes? When we say blending modes here, guys, we are pointing out here that this definition is the blending modes in Adobe Photoshop. All right. So using blending modes means taking the pixel of one layer and blends them with the pixels of another layer to create a new effect. We're using the word pixels here because, as you know, Photoshop is a editing software that focuses on raster images. That's basically images composed of pixels, right? So from time to time, you're gonna hear me saying pixels, colors, but most of the time, it's just the same. Okay, as we all know, pixels are yeah are little boxes that has colors. Okay, so why it's necessary for us to be able to understand what are blending modes. Okay, um, understanding blending modes in Photoshop is crucial for creating captivating designs and achieving artistic excellence with effortless layer blending and color combinations. Okay, let's start with the first one. Um, but before that, I know some of you are um, not that expert or not just not that senior citizens of Adobe Photoshop. But for you to know, no, the one that we're talking about here is the tools in Photoshop that's located here. Okay, so this one is the place where the different blending options in Adobe Photoshop is visible. All right, so most of the time our cursor will hop from this area going to there. Okay, so let's start with the first one, the normal blending mode. Okay, it do not blend pixels or colors in different layers. They only reveal pixels in the base layer when the opacity is reduced. As an example, actually, I want you to I will walk you to this document. So if it happens that you find this workspace different, this because this is the workspace that I'm used to use every time I do editing. So please bear with the presentation. So we have here the base layer. So basically, this is the layer that will compose our images, no? The base layers. These are the basically the images below. Okay. So we have here three images. This one is the text for uh the name of the the owner of the image. So this is the first image, the second image, and the third image, which is a zebra. So these are the sample images that we're going to use throughout the discussions. And the base layer is actually the layer where we're going to observe what is happening. So basically base layer composed of images that will not be changed. We have here the blend layer, a number of rectangles um with increasing brightness. The next one here is a three rectangles from 0% to 50% to 100% increase in brightness. So there's an increment of 50%. And we have here a gradient layer. Same with this one, but this layer will show the different transitions of colors. Okay, we have here the blend layer for RGB gradient. We can also this is where we can also observe what is happening if a certain color pixel or a certain pixel is blended with our base layer. And the summary of or the combination of all the blend layers is here. Okay, so if we're going to discuss each blend layer, is what we're going to use. Okay, so the first blend layer, actually this one is not a blending layer, but this is a layer that shows every pixels of the blend layer. So basically, when we're talking about blending, we cannot blend something if it's only one, right? So it should always compose of at least two layers in our layers panel. So um if actually blend layers is the default uh so if you're going to observe now, once you're embedded or you import an image in Photoshop, it is automatically in normal mode because Photoshop is telling us that this blend layer is um, not affecting the layer below, right? So our base layer is not affected. So if your blend layer above is in normal mode, basically what we're going to see is the blend layer, or basically the layer above, right? So here we have here a layer one, a transparent one. We cannot see something here because it's a transparent image. But if we use our brush and paint it uh, with this red, right? So you can see that um, there's a solid transition between the layer one and our base layer, which is actually the zebra. Let's move this one above para, so that we cannot. Okay, yeah. Let's name this one as our base image. Yeah, so basically, this is the normal mode. Now, some people is very confused with this one. What is the difference between, because in my presentation, you will not see the other blending mode, which is actually the outcome that you've seen a while ago. The pass through. Okay. We're going to observe here. Let me show you this one, the blend layer that is in increment of 10% in brightness. You can see here that it is in default as pass through. Okay. There's a number of video in YouTube that will discuss what is the definition of pass through and normal mode. Visually, let me change this one into normal. Yeah. So visually, um, there's no difference between normal and pass through. Okay, visually, it's what that's just how you see the blend layer in your screen. But on the other hand, the algorithm is different. Okay, let's say for example, we have here the blend layer. Let's give focus on this one. So we have here a blend layer here that is in normal mode, and a percent label. These are actually text, and I grouped it into percent labels. Um, Blended in normal mode or set into normal mode, and the overall group of this image of this layer is set to pass through. When your group or set layers, basically, if you group a group of layers, the default blending options is pass through, meaning the Photoshop is considering that layer, that group of layer, as a single layer. Meaning, if you put this one as pass through, the blending modes of all of this will affect the base layer. Let's say, for example, we have here a number of layers in different blending modes. Let me duplicate this one. I set this one into overlay. I also set this one into color dodge. I also set the other copy into a divide, something like that. If you're going to observe, the overall group blend layer in 10% increment in brightness is set to pass through, and it affects our base image. You observe that regardless of the effect of each of this base of the blending modes of each of these layers. But if we change if we change this one into normal, all of these blending options, all of the effect of each of these layers will only affect the overall image within the group of blend layer 10%. So regardless the image below, it will not be affected by the blend layer group if the blend layer group is set into normal mode. Okay. So basically, if in simple terms, blend normal, it only affects the layers within the group or inside the group. Pass through, the blending mode of this layer will affect our base image or all of our base image below. Hope you understand that. But most people, actually, I admit that I disregard it. It doesn't matter for me if it is in normal mode or if it is in pass through mode. Okay, so let's proceed. That's just the first. Yeah, so this is the outcome, like I've shown you a while ago. Let's proceed with dissolve. So dissolve, basically, if you make an image into a dissolve blending mode, let me show this layer one. Okay, it doesn't affect, or there's no any visual um changes that's happening. Why? Because dissolve and normal mode is considered to be in normal blending options now. It doesn't have a visual effect. Only if the blending layer, which is layer one, opacity is changed. So if you're going to observe, the opacity of layer one is in 100% and the field is in 100%. If we're going to decrease the opacity of layer one, you will observe that it's not visible because the color. Let's change this one to blend, into a blend layer. Okay, let's use the same layer. Let's bring it back to normal, and let's change this one. Also, before I forgot, blending options is a tool in Photoshop that is applicable not only for images, can also be applicable for smart objects, shapes, text, colors, etc. Okay, so like I've told you a while ago, let's change this one to dissolve. Again, there is no visual changes happening between our on our blend layer. But if we're going to decrease the opacity of this layer, look what happened. In simple terms, dissolve means dissolve. It dissolves the pixels in the blend layer. So there's a there's an inverse, if you're familiar with variations. There's a direct variation between the opacity of a layer and the distance between the pixels of a blend layer in terms of dissolve blending options or blending modes. So as the opacity decreases, the number of pixels that is showing in our blend layer, which is in dissolve um, blending mode, is also decreasing. Let's say indirect, it's also indirect variation. In a sense that our blend layers is somehow becoming invisible or transparent little by little as its opacity is decreasing. Okay, so as you observe, it creates an effect like it, our blend is transformed into a sand or a grainy image, right? Also, of course, the resolution of the image also affect the overall um, outcome of the image. Let's proceed. Let me bring this layer again into pass through and 100% opacity. Okay, so yeah, this is the same outcome, darken. Now, if you're going to observe in Photoshop, um, our blending options is subdivided into groups, and that is visible by this line that you can see here. So this pass through, I don't know why it is a divided. I mean, it is not included in this group, but I think this should be included in this one. Okay, and the darken group. So basically, when you talk about bending options, it is not advisable to talk each bending options, right? Because the darken group actually has the main outcome of darkening an image. We're not talking about the blending layer or the base layer. What we're talking about here is the total result. Okay, the visual outcome. So when you use a darken any blending options under the darken mode, darken group, the outcome you're going to expect that the outcome of the that will come up in your monitor is actually in darken. Okay, so darken, multiply, color burn, linear burn, and darker color are all in a group of darken. Lighten, screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color are under the screen. I under in the lighten group. Overlay, soft lights. As a matter of fact, I prepared here uh, a summary of all the blending options. I'm going to share this one. I'm gonna convert it into a PDF file, and I'm gonna share it to all of you. I don't I just don't know how will that happen, but yeah, definitely I'm gonna share this one for you for as a file for your review or another resources. Okay, so like I've told you a while ago, we have a darken group, the lighten group, um, the contrast group, the inversion and cancellation. Actually, this one is actually during the last versions of Photoshop. This is only in inversion, and cancellation is included. This is just some recent years. And the last one is the component. So let's start with the darken. When you use a darken blending mode, it compares pixels or colors from the active layer. When say active layer, this is the layer above. Okay, this is the layer we're going to put the blending options, keeping the darkest value, resulting in darkening the overall image. Okay, so for visual, let's use this blend layer, the gradient. Okay, so starting from this point, this includes the first pixel here has a 0% brightness, no matter what color is that. But here we use black and white. Okay, so we all know that any color, if the brightness is in 0%, it produces a black outcome. And if it increases its brightness, it becomes a total white. All right. So let's see what will happen if we change this blend layer gradient into, let me delete this one. Okay. Into a darken mode. What did you observe? If you're going to, if you can see the, the blend layer, this is where we put the blending mode darken. The black area remain while the white area disappears. It becomes transparent. Let me show you the other layer. This is the 50% gradient. I know the 10%. This one. I'm gonna change this one into darken, and here it is. This rectangle here has a 0% brightness, and after we apply the darken blending options, nothing happens with this color. But as the brightness increases, that reaches its 100%, it becomes transparent. So basically, if we're going to use any darken images, no, the total white becomes invisible. It becomes transparent. The total black becomes opaque, or the most visible one. All right. We're talking about here the brightness level. All right. We're not talking about the color, not only black and white. We're talking about the brightness level. Okay. So to give an emphasis with that, let me show you this one. So if you're going to have this image, right? So we use the eyedropper tool, and we pick the color here in 0%, and we look at the our color picker. Here's what you're going to see. Um, no matter what is the color, all right. If you make it at 0%, it will always becomes black. Let's make it blue, and let's set the brightness level into 0. Still, it becomes black. That's what I'm. That's this. That is what I'm telling you a while ago. So no matter what's the color of the image, or what's the color of the pixel, if the brightness level is nearest to 0 or in absolute 0, it becomes visible. It becomes opaque. Okay, that is why some people or some designers uses the majority of the blending options under under this group in creating vignette. Are you familiar with vignette? In intensifying shadows, in lowering the brightness of an image, etc. As long as as long as your concern is um, uh, giving an emphasis into dark, you can maximize, you can utilize any of these uh, blending options under darken. But of course, there's still a difference between them. Let's proceed with, so this one is in darken. Let's make it multiply. If you can, as you can see, there's no, what's the difference between the two? This one is in darken, while this one is in multiply. Here it is. Darkens the image, and if you use the multiply blending mode, it darkens the image, but by multiplying the pixel values of the active layer with the pixel values of the underlying layers, creating a blending effect commonly used for shadows and depth. So if you go back with our overview a while ago, you will see the word mathematically because in Photoshop we also deals with numbers. So take look at colors as numbers, right? We make zero as black, and we make white, the total white, or the 100% brightness white, into 1. What will happen if you multiply any number into 0? I'm expecting the answer that your answer will be 0, right? So if any number is multiplied by 0, the answer is 0. So basically, if your layer above, let's give this one, let's see, let's use this one as an example, the 50% layer, this one. Okay, if this layer above, um, hmm, that's it, in normal mode first. Okay, if this layer, all right, above is in 0, okay, let's see if it's in 0. So the brightness here is 0. We multiply it to its to the base layer, to the base image. This is the result. This is the outcome. Sorry, should be in normal multiply. Okay. So the black one here that's very opaque, the part of the image that nothing happens is actually in 0. So it becomes visible, it becomes opaque after you apply the multiply. While the gray one, which is actually in 50%, it becomes a rectangle that is black, that's low in opacity, like 50% opacity. Why does it so? Because the 50% here is not 0, right? So if you multiply something here, it should have an outcome, but in lighter mode, lighter mode. But the white one here, which is 1, all right, it becomes transparent. Okay, so basically, multiply is one of the most used blending mode in terms of editing in Photoshop, because it's one of the best options if you're looking about if you're looking to the best transition between the light and the dark. Okay, let's proceed with the next one. We have here the color burn. It darkens the underlying pixels. It affects the base image. Okay, so you have to consider that one. Before you apply a blending mode, you have to think first, what layer uh, what is your goal, or what layer is your goal to be changed? Like, if you want, do you want your above layer to be affected, or you want your layer below to be the one to be affected, or you want both? Okay, so this one, color burn, it darkens the underlying pixels based on the active layer's pixel values, resulting in richer, more intense colors and dramatic shadows. Let me show you this one. So actually this is the outcome, but let me show you this one. Let's bring it back to normal, and let's use the gradient one. Okay, let's change this one into color burn. The same with the principles of multiply. the black ones becomes opaque, it becomes visible, and the white ones, so the total white, as the brightness increases, it becomes transparent. But here, it becomes intense. Like it also affects the contrast of the image underlying it. So this is the image that I'm pertaining to. Okay. So it, um, aside from the blend layers whites become invisible, the base image blacks becomes, I mean, and yeah, the white ones become visible and the black ones become visible. Aside from that, it also intensifies the colors below. Like it all like it affects the contrast of the image of our base image. Okay, proceed to the next one. So we have here the linear burn. It darkens the underlying pixels again. What what is affected here is the underlying pixel. Okay. Pardon me if you find it very hard to understand because when we're when we're talking about blending modes, we are not um considering the total. We are not considering the total layer, right? You know what I mean? We are when we use blending modes, we are expecting that the outcome is affected through its pixels, not through the overall totality of the image. Okay? So the underlying pixels linearly based on the active layer's pixel values, intensifying shadows and overall darkening of the image. Let's take a look at the table here, the linear burn. Okay, what happens, the first column here are is the outcome in black, okay? The darkening effect is more subtle. While the gray ones, I mean the white ones, the darkening effect is more subtle, and the darkening effect is more subtle. Let me show you this one. Linear burn is comparable with color burn. Okay, so right now we are in color burn, and we change this one into linear burn. After we have your shortcut key, we can also use Shift plus to change the blending options of the layer. Just make sure that just make sure that this tool is not active. All right, you have to click outside first. Yeah, Shift plus convert it into linear burn. Shift minus this color burn. This is linear burn. What you observe? What did you observe? Okay, in color burn, I mean in color burn, it affects the white ones. It becomes transparent. But uh, when it comes to the dark areas, it doesn't um, it doesn't consider whether it is a 3% black or 5% black. As long as it's black, it becomes black. I mean, it becomes opaque. Okay, so that is the comparison between color burn and linear burn. The last one is the darker color. Okay, it compares pixels from the active layer above and the underlying layer, keeping the darker color, resulting in a darker and more saturated image. Okay, let's take a look at this image. I mean, in this table. It chooses the darker color value from either the top or the underlying layer, effectively darkening the image. Black pixels on the top layer will have a little to no effect on the result. While on white, am I correct? Yeah. While on white ones, on white pixels, the darker color value from either the top or the underlying layer resulting in darkening the image. White pixels on top layer will have little to no effect on the result. To better understand that, let's change this layer into a darker color. See what happens? The transition between the transition between the increment of brightness in terms of colors or pixels is more subtle. All right, it still affects the totality of the image like this one, because if we're going to compare darker color into multiply, I mean, yeah, in multiply, it doesn't affect the base image, right? You're going to observe we are here and multiply. The blend layers gradient doesn't affect the base image. The color of the image below remains the same, but the result makes it more darker because of the blending mode. But if we're going to change it into darker color, what will you observe? It also affects the saturation of the image below. Okay, so take note that if we're going to use darker color, it will also affect. It will not consider any layer. It considers both layer, right? So it picks the black colors below, it picks the black colors above, they combine it. If they find it um compatible, and then the blending mode saturated it. Okay, but still the principle of multiply layer remains the same. As the brightness color is nearest to zero, it becomes opaque, and as the brightness level increments until it becomes 100% brighter, 100% brightness, it becomes transparent. um I'm expecting that you understand the meaning of opaque and transparent in terms of design in visual designing, especially in Photoshop. If it is in opaque, meaning it is visible, okay, it can be seen above or it can be seen on the monitor. But if it is transparent, right, it's not transparent means not okay. To be clear, transparent means it is only not visible, but it's not erased. Okay, take note of that. So we should not use the same term. We should use the same terms appropriately or properly. So yeah, that is a normal that is um the normal group and the darken group. Let's proceed with the lighten mode. Okay. Um, Let me bring it back again to normal. Yep, in normal. Okay, lighten is actually the first blending mode or blending options under lighten group, right? When you use blending options or blending mode lighten, it compares pixels from the active layer and the underlying layers. Then after it compares, after the algorithm of Photoshop compares the um the two layers. Why was the screen? Why is that my screen is not up here? Yeah. Okay. Keeping the lighter value, resulting in brightening the overall image. So if you're thinking about multiply, the the dark remains, the white disappears. Reverse it, that is the lighten group of blending modes. Again, in multiply, the dark area remains, and the white area or the brighter area disappears. Okay, reverse that, that is lighten. So in darken group, it darkens the image. In lighten group, it lightens the image. Majority of it lightens the image. All right. But of course, some of the blending options under lighten modes also affect the saturation of the image. The Yeah, most of the time the saturation of the image. But yeah, so this lighten. Okay, we're going to look at here at our present at our table. What happens to the black colors if you change the image into a lighten mode? Okay, the blending algorithm selects the lighter pixel values between the top and the underlying layers. Black pixels on the top layer will have little to no effect on the underlying layers, meaning the black pixels above becomes transparent in relations with the layers below, right? So except for the transparent areas on the top layers where the pixels can still lighten and underlying pixels. Now what will happen to white? The blending algorithm, or basically the Photoshop, selects the lighter pixel values between the top and the underlying layers. White pixels on the top layer will have little to no effect on the underlying layer except for the transparent areas on the top layer where pixels can still lighten and underlying pixels. That sounds different. But I don't know what's the reason with that. But yeah, right now we are here in a, let's use another blend layer. I think this one is good. Actually, I want to use this one, but I think this it will cause a confusion to some of us if we're going to understand the outcome of a blending mode in a base image with this multiple um layers. All right. So multiple, yeah, multiple layers. Let's just use this one. Again, we're talking about the brightness level of the image, not the colors. Okay, so it is applicable with other colors. Let's use 0% brightness blue to the 100% brightness blue, 0% brightness pink, oh, is that, and 100% brightness white. It doesn't matter. The blending mode will remains the same. Okay, so right now we are here in a normal mode. Let's change this one into lighten. As you can see, um, the first thing that Photoshop did is to compare both layers. So it compares the blend layers 10% and the base image. After that, Photoshop um, um, points or picks all the black areas on our top layer. Okay, so this is our blend layer. This is where the blending mode is applied. Okay, Photoshop get all the black. Okay, not only the 0% brightness. I think it's very confusing if we're going to use the word black. But yeah, let's use the brightness level of 0%. It picks the lower percent brightness layers, and Photoshop make it disappear. Photoshop make it transparent. That's exactly the inverse of the darken option, the darken group. Okay, so the black here, let's make it normal again. The black ones, I mean the 0% brightness level colors here becomes transparent. And as the brightness level increases, it becomes more opaque to the point that it becomes a solid image, right? Let's make it multiply before I mean screen before we proceed to the next one. So this is the lighten one, and this is the screen. The difference is not visible. Maybe let's use another base layer image. If we can use this. Okay, so maybe this is a coincidence. I think this is a coincidence that the screen and lighten has the same effect. But actually, the lighten effect and the screen effect has a very visible comparison. Maybe let's use other blend layer. Ah, yeah, let's use this one. So we are in light. I know, sorry. You should not apply the blending mode of the base image. Yeah. Right now we are in pass through, meaning the effect that we're going to put in any layer here will affect our base image. Okay. We don't want that. We make it normal, and then afterwards, it make it lighter. Okay. As you can see, uh, uh, like what we expect, the black parts or the black ones in our image and our blend layer group disappears. But why is that maybe you're asking, why is that the RGB gradient here is affected also. Take note that we're not we're not only talking about the 0% brightness and the 100% brightness, right? Of course, uh, if you give the reference, what is it? If you give the reference to a specific pixel or color that has its own brightness, um, it can also be affected by the blending mode. Okay, so we consider here the rectangle one. Let's bring it back to normal. There's still 8% in brightness in each of pixels here. So basically, it will still be affected by the blending mode. Okay. So again, let's make it enlighten and screen. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Enlighten, um, Photoshop picks the dark color and make it um invisible or transparent, but that's it. That's totally it. But when we change it into screen, Photoshop still considers the aside it I mean it becomes subtle. Okay, so the transparency and opaqueness of the black and whites in or the brightness levels in our blending layer is not so strong if we're going to use screen. That's why screen is one of them together with overlay, multiply, darken maybe. The screen is one of the most popular blending mode that is used by majority of the designers or the visual graphic designers that is utilizing Adobe Photoshop. Okay, let's bring it back to normal. Okay, again we're still in the idea that the lighten group of blending modes is making the dark areas transparent and making the light areas or the light or the brighter area of the image visible or opaque. This is the outcome that I've shown you a while ago. The screen, okay. As a matter of fact, you're going to observe the darkened group and the lightened group is arranged in a way that it inverse the the other mode. It's the same with its order. So the if you're going to use darken here, the opposite of darken, okay? If our goal is to make the image darker, we use darken. But if our goal is to make the image lighter, it's better if we use lighten, okay? But if we want to make the image in multiply, and the other way around is screen. Let me show you this example so that this will be presented properly. So we have here a blend layer copy and blend layer all, right? So both of these layers are in are in normal mode. Okay. Let's make blend layer all um hidden first, and let's make blend layer all copy in multiply. So all the brighter area going to the increment 100% brighter becomes invisible. That's what we expect, and that's what happened. Okay. If we make this blend layer visible and we transform it with, again, the blending mode that we use here is multiply. And what's the counterpart of multiply in the lighten group? Screen. The outcome should be the image. Yeah, the outcome should be the image, the original image if it is in normal mode. But still, the transparency here is affected. Like you said a while ago, Rusty, you said a while ago that it should be the same. Yeah, it's still the same, but of course, between the 0% and 100%, there's a number of percentage between the brightness of, of the color, right? So the opacity of the image um is affected. So basically that's it. The 0% here become visible, the 0% here become visible. If we combine both counterparts of counterparts of every blending mode. Let me delete this. Then okay, where are we? Color dodge. So I think if you're not familiar with dodging and burning, so basically, one time I used dodging in what's that? I think that's burning. That dodging. We use color dodge. I mean, we use dodge tool to make an image lighter. Okay, so if you go to Photoshop, this is where it is located. Let's duplicate this image and let's use dodge tool here. I think yeah, this one's dodge tool. Huh. So looking at this part of the zebra, right? If you can observe, I'm using a brush. Let's use a solid brush. Yeah, that's it. So the lighter parts or the lighter area of the zebra becomes more light. That's how dodging um, works. The counterpart of dodging is burning tool. I'm gonna introduce this one because there's another blending modes that has a partner of yeah, this one, the color burn. So the color burn doesn't affect actually the majority of the white areas in our image, but it affects the darker areas of the image. If you can observe this one, so I'm putting an over effect of burning to an image. So this one is our edited image, and this one is yeah, this one is our original image. So this one I used here is dodge tool. Here is burn tool. So basically, if we are dodging, we are making the light areas of the image lighter more. Or is that correct? We make the lighter area more brighter, and if we're going to use burn tool, we make the dark areas or the dark areas of the image more darker. That's how these two tool um works. Yeah. So let's finish the lighten group. Let's finish the lighten group. Anyway, no matter what will happen, I'm gonna share this table for to you guys. No, the last column here is composed of sample applications. Each blending mode here has a given sample application that you can apply to in each blending mode, the blending options. It's just I'm so sorry I cannot give you the source images for that. But I think this is your call or that's your challenge to pick a specific image that will work on your specific blending mode. That's how you can evaluate yourself if you really understand the blending options or the blend that specific blending mode. Okay, so where are we? We are now in color dodge. All right. So let's use this gradient. All right. So what happens when you use color dodge is that brightens the underlying pixels. So what does it mean? It means that the ones affected here is the underlying pixel, the colors uh, inside the layer underneath. All right. Based on the active layer, so brightens the underlying pixels based on the active layer's pixel value. So if the value of the brightness level value of the layer above is above, or I mean it's brighter, meaning the pixels below also becomes brighter. So because basically it makes the image below more vivid or more lighter in colors. Often use light effects and highlights. Let me demonstrate that one for you. So basically here we are now in 0% brightness in color and 100% brightness in color. Okay, let's change this one into a color dodge. color dodge. That's it. Again, we are dodging colors, meaning we are expecting that our image will become brighter. So considering the layer above, the active layer, the blending layer, which is actually this one, blend layer gradient, we have here the nearest or the pixels here are the nearest in 100%, meaning the pixels here are more brighter compared to the pixels on the other side. So it's given that if we use color dodge, all the black pixels here will become transparent, while the white one, I mean the brighter pixels here becomes opaque. And at the same time, it also increases the brightness level of the image below. So aside from it, it's like hitting two birds in one stone. You get what I mean? So aside from it maintains the opacity of the active layer above, um, where you put the blending mode. Aside from that, it also affects the brightness level below. All right. So that's color dodge. But of course, using color dodge is it's like once in a bloom. Why? Because most of the time when we are editing an image, we don't want our image to be super exposed. It's the same in our image below, in our sample here, right? So you can see it's very exposed on the areas where the pixels interacts, right? So yeah, but of course it's necessary for us to understand that color dodge has a function like this one. The next one is, let me bring it back again to normal mode. By the way, this Photoshop file will be shared with you guys so that you can also um repeat the actions that I did a while ago. So these layers are in groups. Hopefully you'll understand this one. And it's up to you if you're going to add other groups here where there's a color wheel or for the CMYK, the grayscales. It's up to you guys. But I'll definitely share this file to you. I think our host will do um her best or their best to make this file available for you guys. Let's proceed to the next one. Color dodge. So this color dodge. Okay. Again, color dodge, hitting two birds in one stone. Linear dodge. What is linear dodge? Add. Brightens the underlying pixels linearly based on the active layer's pixel values, intensifying highlights and overall brightness in the image. It is also commonly referred to as add because it adds the pixel values of the active and the underlying layers together. Actually, it's very much the same with color burn. I mean, color dodge, right? Let me show you what will happen if you make it in color dodge. By the way, oh, I wasn't, I didn't able to save this one. But anyway, okay. So we have here color dodge. Let's make it into linear add. So as you can see the difference, right? In color dodge, it separates the black and make it transparent, okay, with less consideration of its brightness level. So basically, linear dodge is the more subtle version of color dodge. All right, can you see the difference? So if your goal in your image, if you are using, if you are, I mean, if you are confused, no, what blending modes are you going to use? Is it color dodge? Is it linear dodge? Ask yourself, am I, what did I want as an outcome with that image? Do I want my image to be, um, to make more brighter? I mean, the highlights of my image to become brighter. Is that the outcome that I want? I think if that's what I want, I think I can use color dodge and I can disregard the black ones. I can I can focus on the black on the brighter parts of the image and make it more lighter to emphasize the brightness of the image. I can use the color dodge. But if what I want is the transition between but if I want is an outcome where my image produces an outcome of a subtle transition between the white areas and the black areas of the result, then I can go to the linear dodge. Add. Okay. So basically linear dodge, color dodge, the same, but linear dodge is more subtle. Okay. It's like color dodge is more overreacting when it comes to making the black ones um transparent. It's the same with that. Okay, the last one is so this is the outcome. Okay, the lighter color. It compares pixels from the active layer and the underlying layer, keeping the lighter color, resulting in a brighter and more saturated image. I think that's the same definition. Okay, let's see what are the difference between the three. Okay, let's use, okay, this one. The 50% increment in brightness, of color brightness. Okay, we are in normal mode. Let's make it color dodge. Again, the 0% black becomes transparent. The 100% white becomes opaque. And at the same time, it makes the white areas below more brighter. Okay, that is color dodge. Let's make it linear dodge. Less subtle color dodge. And now let's make it a lighter color. What happens here is that, of course, the same, the dark areas or the dark areas become more um, transparent, but as the brightness level of the base layer or the active layer, the blend layer, which is this time is the blend layer, is going to the 100%, it becomes more visible. And at the same time, if we're going to look at the table here, what happens with the white areas in lighter color? Volume on the top of the okay, effectively lighting the image. Gray pixels on the top layer will have little to no effect on the result. That's why using lighter color blending modes is a good choice if you want to make your effect more brighter at the same time. Create a scenario, okay, that is like lighter one. Okay, I think I have here an example. So you have your scenario, right? You have a photograph and want to add light effects such as lens, flares, bokeh, or glowing elements to enhance the ambience or create a dreamy atmosphere. So do you have any, do you have a picture of a dream? Like, okay, so if you search in the internet, dreamy, dreamy images, it's like an image where there's so much clouds in it, right? So if you want an image to become like, if you want your result image to become like that, it's a good call if you're going to use lighter color. Yeah. So I think I did tackle the three groups: the normal group, the darkened group, and the lightened group. That's it.
Okay. Yes, so thank you so much, Sir Rusty, for that very informative session for this night. Yeah, but we have the second day, right, Sir Rusty? And that will be on
That will be on August 5.
August 5. So
Yep.
let's see each other again on August 5. Since Sir Rusty wasn't able to finish the course this evening, so we have the time on August 5. So see you there again for us to continue what is understanding blending modes.
Miss Mary,
So,
Miss Mary, excuse me,
yes.
can we commit to the audiences that these files that I have here can be shared to them before August 5 so that while I am discussing here, they can practice in their computers while I'm doing
Yeah,
the
sure, Sir Rusty. Yes, by the way, as Sir Rusty have mentioned, so we are actually have the LMS. So let me share to you. So this is actually where we can put those learning materials that Sir Rusty have given, so that you also have the access while he is um explaining or he is discussing about those matters or those topics. So yeah, I'm going now to promote our LMS. So this is actually digital creatives learning where we place our topics in Adobe. So we have here Adobe courses. Not only Adobe courses, we also have the soft skill trainings. What I have mentioned earlier, that we also live earlier before this live with Sir Rusty. We are live in LinkedIn for the campus to corporate. So that is actually a soft skills and technical courses also. We offer that technical courses. So by the way, if you also want to join our trainings for technicals, we are actually the Revit sessions is actually ongoing. So on August 4, we also have live in with technical courses. So that is actually Revit MEP. So if you have friends that are what's this? If you have friends that are interested with technical courses, which is in AEC industry, so that is Revit MEP. So let's see you there if you want to join. So here in Adobe courses, here we can see the learning materials. We will be uploading here in Adobe courses the learning materials that Sir Rusty is talking with a while ago. All right. So I have pasted it in the comment sections and you can see it there. So just visit that website. So http education.digitalcreativeslearning.com. So again, thank you so much everyone for joining us tonight. And see you on the second day of our Understanding Blending Mode still with Mr. Recentes. All right. So thank you so much and God bless you. God bless to everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Recentes.
Yeah, thank you so much.